Hello and welcome to my channel Close to the Edge, where we talk about prog rock, classic rock, heavy rock, and maybe even a sticker rock. Stick around, you never know. Today,
One of them.
he brought it.
I thought you might like it. I thought you might like a prop, just in case some of your subscribers don't know what a sticker rock is.
That is a sticker rock.
Don't eat it now; it's bad for your teeth.
Yeah, but that is the sticker rock.
So there you go.
They're the good one now, Paul.
I was up in Dublin and I saw it in the
sticker
shop.
rock.
I saw it in the shop and I went, "I'm buying that for Pat." Because you
There you
keep
go.
saying it and you crack me up every time. But I thought, what if people don't know what you mean by a sticker rock? There you
There's your sticker rock.
go. So there you go. Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas to you. And in America, I think they call that a candy bar. Is that right?
Rock candy, I think. Is
Rock
it?
candy,
I think
it
so.
is.
There you go.
there you go.
There's a prop for you to wave at the camera now in the future.
My sticker rock. Put it down. Anyway, I have Paul Bulger here today.
Oh yeah.
And today we're going to do our 10 favourite album covers in rock music. Paul.
Yeah, the artwork.
Artwork,
of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Artwork, whether they're photographs, whatever.
Whatever.
And of course, this is very subjective.
It is.
We could have picked, you said you could have picked 1,000.
I could,
Yes,
and there's
we-
so many different genres. I stuck to, because you do rock and progressive rock and hard rock, I picked my favourite rock, what I would consider rock album covers, hard rock, classic rock. I didn't pick anything from jazz albums or country albums or blues. I just said,
Yeah.
I'm going to stay with
Stay
the
with
ones
the
that,
rock,
that
yeah.
I liked growing up or the ones
Yeah.
I still go back to.
Well, the majority of mine actually are, well, they're all rock, really, basically.
I think the same.
So we're going to do 10 and we'll have a few honourable mentions at the end.
Yep.
Paul, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Van Halen, Women and Children First.
That's a great cover, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, I think it's taken by Helmut Newton, the famous photographer, fashion photographer. David Lee Roth, as far as I understand, wanted him to take the picture. What I liked about this, when I saw this in Sinnets years ago, the old record shop,
In Watford, yeah.
it was so different because it's so minimal. There's nothing to it. It's just a brilliant photograph of a good rock band having a laugh. But when I didn't know who they were, and I think I was the first in our gang to get this. Right?
That's the first album we heard.
And that's it. That's the one that I bought. And I
Is
remember
that's the actual one you
yeah,
bought?
yeah, in 1980 when I was not very old.
No, we weren't very old back then. no,
Yeah,
in
and
fairness,
but I like the simplicity, and I like the fact that they did, because I do art and design myself, and like I think they kind of went against the grain of rock covers, because a lot of rock covers were very, they have cool paintings. The lads just said, no, keep it minimal, keep it simple, and it's a great image of the band, isn't it?
yeah, it's brilliant cover.
And it's simple, and the music. Then you kind of didn't know what you were getting. I didn't know anything about them at the time, and I just took a chance, and I said they look like they're a good laugh, and it's a brilliant record
Oh, it's a brilliant album.
and a brilliant
Yeah.
cover.
I love the
That's
cover.
my first one.
That's a good one, Paul. And I'm remiss of me actually to say that Paul is an artist, professional artist
Yeah,
and
Well,
designer.
a lot of stuff.
But that is, I remember, just to give people a heads up, when we were in school, I'm going back a long time, we're in school since we were 4, obviously.
Yeah.
He could draw stuff that we could only draw. We'd draw a matchstick with 2 hands, the match, but you could draw.
Yeah, I don't know. It's mad, isn't it?
You could just draw.
I know, yeah.
You'd see something and you could draw it, and myself and Kevin would.
I know.
Hey, you must remember we're 4, 5, and 6 now.
Yeah, I think what it is that from a young age, I have a memory of my mother. She said I drew chickens. My grandmother had chickens
Yeah.
out in Dunmore or wherever they were, Ballincollig. And she always said it to me, you can always, and I was always at the table, do you remember, doodling?
Yeah, I always do.
And I just, as we went forward into school and hanging out together, I just kept it up. And then I just went ahead and I've made movies and made graphic novels.
You have, you've done it all.
And that's my job. It's my job. It's not a hobby. It's what I
Yeah,
do.
it's your job. It's
Yeah,
professional.
yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
We never got anywhere with the matchsticks.
No.
No, we didn't. My number 10, Paul, is this album from Rush,
Brilliant.
A Farewell to the Kings.
Brilliant cover.
And that cover is a painting, and I have it written down here, Paul. It's a painting by Hugh Syme.
Yeah.
But he actually went to Buffalo in New York
Right.
and took the photograph.
Right.
It was a derelict kind of villa and behind it, and he had his friend sit in a chair. He wanted a photograph for his, just for what he wanted to. He had an idea about the painting, and then he painted it.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic.
I mean, I've done it myself where you need a bit of reference. Sometimes you have an image in your head and you can't quite get it out. You might be able to sketch something.
Yeah.
But by taking a photograph and then doing a kind of a collage, these days we can do it digitally. Back then he was probably doing it by hand and just moving stuff around.
Yeah.
And a lot of covers are done like that. Anyway, yeah, no, it's brilliant.
It is.
It's a great cover.
It's a fantastic cover.
Yep.
Anyway, Paul, you're number 9.
Number 9 is this one, AC/DC, If You Want Blood. And this cover caught my eye from, again, we were in school. remember 50 Records
Yes.
in shopping centre?
Yes,
There used to be a shopping centre across from our school. And this was in the window, but it was the full-size cutout. Remember they had those
Yeah, the
cutouts
cutout,
advertising the albums? And I walked past the window and I just went, what the hell is that? And it's a friend of ours, John Lavin, sold me this. Because he didn't have it in the shop. It was sold out.
And John had bought that.
Maybe by then, but a year or two after, I think I bought that off John, and that's going back to 79, you know. And what caught my eye was, I mean, look at it. What 15-year-old wouldn't react to a guitar stuck in a fella's belly bleeding?
Yeah.
But I read up on it. It's a studio setup. It's not live. It's done. The only two fellas in the room are him and those two, right? There's nobody else. They just set up a mock stage. They got a guitar, cut it the neck in half. He held it on his belly, pretending to, and they just sprayed a bit of blood on it. So that is not a special effect. It's just, as you see,
As you see, you just took the
and
photograph.
Angus
Yeah,
Messing.
yeah, fantastic.
Isn't that brilliant?
Brilliant.
I thought that was some kind of jiggery pokery. Like on the back, he's dead with the guitar. The other part of the guitar buried.
Very in the back. That's brilliant.
But it's actually, they cut the guitar in half. You know, and that's just, it's so striking. And the music, that of all the album covers, I think that one sums up the sound that's on it. It's aggressive.
It does, actually.
It's
It is.
in your face. It's brilliant. So that would be my
Great cover, great album. too,
brilliant album.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Number 9.
Okay. My number 9, Paul, is this one from
Amazing.
King Crimson, In the Court of the Crimson King.
Brilliant.
And like if you see it when it's actually opened, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
You know, can I move it over
We
here?
were just saying before we came on, the whole thing of those records, the way people made use of the object to do these wide paintings.
Wide,
And, you know, and when you bought them albums, well, we bought those 10 years. I mean, I had that as well. We're 10 years after the fact, but we were able to sit there and open them, read
Open
them,
it, like, you know,
and you enjoy
absolutely-
it. You know,
It's absolutely fantastic. Like,
the
you know
inside
what
is
I mean?
great as well, isn't it?
The inside, yeah, it has the lyrics on the inside, I think, if I can remember well, yeah.
But it's a continuation of the painting. You know, the kind of funky kind of painting. You know?
And the painter, I forget his name now off the top of my head, I have it written down here. He died actually not long after this was released. Yeah. Barry Gubber was his name. Yeah, he died, young man, young artist, and heart attack. Just after the album was released, he died.
So he got to see it though?
He got to see it, yeah,
well,
he
that's
got to
good.
see it, which is
You
brilliant.
often hear stories of guys doing stuff and
They never get
to see it. A lot
to
of
see it.
actors dying, they don't see the.
But that's a unique album, not only for the cover, because of progressive rock,
Yeah, of
and it
course.
started off that whole
Yeah.
genre. It wasn't
Do you know
called.
my story with that album? I'll tell you a good one. I bought that in 1980 with you guys. And on one side, it was the proper side. When you flipped it over, it was Just Supposing by Status Quo.
You don't still have it, yeah.
I brought it back to Synods I was angry. And I brought it back to the shop and I said, can I, and they gave me a new one. I should have kept it. You worked for it.
Before the fortune.
It had side 2 of Just Supposing, or the 1980 album by Status Quo, After Whatever You Want, whatever that, I kind of gave up on Quo then. But imagine, and I brought it back.
And you had King Crimson on the other side. You
Yeah.
couldn't get two bands that are so
The pressing plant messed up.
far from the
So,
spectrum.
21st Century Schizo, man, I loved, and I still love. I just couldn't get into the rest of it. But imagine going home and then turning it over. I'm just supposing.
Listen to Braga, and then you listen to that. Whatever.
Hey, but there you go.
Anyway, Paul, number 8.
Number 8 for me is the classic.
Ah, yeah.
And these are not really in order, are they? Of we're not saying what's
Well,
best.
we're not saying
We're
what's
just
best. We
what
just
we
want
like.
to number 'em.
Yeah.
We have to, so we know where we stand.
And this was bought in a market in Berlin. It's an original Vertigo pressing. That's why you can see 20 marks on it. When I bought it. What way am I doing this? Is this way.
This way, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the original Vertigo because I had it on NEMS,
We all had them on names.
but it was only a single. Remember?
That's right, yeah.
And so that would be the original. If you notice, the ones I've picked so far are photographic. They're
Yeah.
not paintings.
Yeah.
And I kind of did that for a reason, because sometimes with a photograph, they didn't know who that girl was for a long time. And they tracked down the photographer. They found out she's still alive. She's in her 70s now.
Yeah.
And it was just some picture your man took. He just thought, like, it's kind of witchy woman, make it, you know, a bit weird.
It's a brilliant cover.
What a cover.
Yeah.
You know, and you'd be talking about, again, the wide open thing. Look, you have the widescreen effect.
It's absolutely brilliant.
Like, isn't that great? It's a mill somewhere in England, I think near Birmingham, somewhere like that. And
Autumn, obviously, or near winter
yeah,
time.
I'd say, I'll be honest with you, I have a funny feeling that's doctored. Because you could do that in dark rooms. I mean, now we can do it in Photoshop. I'd say he pushed the colours a bit, because it looks a bit too, to me, I could be wrong, but that it's all matching. All the levels of brown are very similar.
Yeah, they could have done it, yeah.
So a little bit, who cares, whatever, it works.
It's a brilliant cover.
But it's a fantastic cover. And it's, again, one of those albums we heard first in, what, 79, 78?
early 79, I say. It was Purple in 78, and then it was Sabbath. We gravitated
Because
there.
we kind of found all this stuff. We were that bit young that we got into this a few years after, 10 years after we were out almost.
Yeah.
You know, and that's my
Brilliant, though. Well, and
fantastic
of
cover,
course, a brilliant album as well.
Oh,
at
yeah.
the same
Amazing.
time. My number 8 is Argus by Wishbone Ash.
Brilliant. I actually was going to pick that one.
Yeah, and I always think this is the forerunner for Star Wars.
Darth Vader. Yeah.
Darth Vader.
It's based, I think that, you know, that helmet is based on an Austrian emperor. Austrian, not Hungarian. The 14th century or the 15th century knights of Hungary and Austria had very different helmets to the rest of Europe. And I think that's what that is.
That's probably what it is.
Because it has a strange shape.
And it's a Hypnosis cover, isn't it?
Hypnosis, yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just
and they were like the top designers,
all
weren't
the top. It's just a simple photograph.
Again, open that out and you'll see. Look at it's that brilliant idea that you were able to do
Especially on a gatefold.
Yeah, and you can get the
Obviously
benefit
not
of the whole cover.
The whole cover.
So when somebody is designing that, they're already thinking about how it would work. Because if you frame that and put that, it's an amazing picture on a wall.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
I have loads of my albums framed.
I know you have. I know you have.
They're just cool.
But that is. I love that cover.
Do you know what I do sometimes? I buy scratch versions of the records just to get the cover. So
Yeah,
you've
why
done,
not?
and I put them up on the wall, and I keep the good one.
Yeah, obviously.
You
Yeah.
know, but the covers are brilliant.
Anyway, that's my number 8,
Cool.
Argus.
What's next?
Number 7.
7. Live and Dangerous.
Another photograph. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I am in the photographic thing, and I tell you, when I saw that, it was in '78. Paul Robinson, remember Robbie from his Dublin?
Yes.
And he was at the gig last night we were at. But that caught my eye because everybody, like Phil in it was like, I mean, that's, and you know, Bursting Out by Jethro Tull is kind of a similar pose.
Very similar.
And I think it was that thing of a guy sliding across the stage. You know, it's just, you would never see that if you went to a gig in a pub. But
No.
everything about that is big and bold and brash, and he's shoving the bass in your face and everything else he has in your face. But it's such a striking cover. Again, like AC/DC, that kind of sums up the music that's on it.
But you know what that cover always proves to me? It was his band.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
That's what it proves to me.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It really was. But at the same time, like all the other lads, Sean and like the guitar players, he never got in their way, and you know everybody contributed. But you're right, it was his band.
But it took Gary Moore to come along and show him how to do it in the studio.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Because they weren't actually, some of their albums weren't recorded well enough in the studio.
There was issues in the early albums. It wasn't until really Bad Reputation, was it?
But I think when Moore
Johnny
came along, he
Frost.
changed
Oh
everything
yeah,
for
sure.
Black
He didn't
Rose.
stay long enough.
He couldn't.
Yeah,
They're all
yeah, I know.
compromised.
Yeah, but what a great cover anyway. Brilliant. That's my
That's brilliant.
Number 8.
But my number
or
7 is
7,
from the band Asia.
Oh yeah.
Their first album, debut album. I think it's 82, was it? Yeah, 80, Roger Dean cover.
Yeah.
Now, this is not a gatefold, so
Yeah.
they kind of cheaped out on this one.
Yeah.
Where I think if it was a gatefold, you'd have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'd say by the 80s they were saving money, were they?
They were saving money.
Yeah.
And I always loved this cover. I think it's an amazing cover by
Brilliant,
Dean. But unfortunately, the album is not as good as the cover.
Yeah. I had it and I got rid of it.
Because when I heard that first,
It's a bit AOR, isn't it?
82, when I saw on that, went out and bought it.
Mm.
And I saw Carl Palmer, Steve Howe,
Mm.
Jeff Downes, and John Wetton on it. I said, this must be the prog of all prog albums.
Yeah. No.
No, it's not.
Pop rock.
Pop rock. And they made a fortune out of it.
I know.
Made a fortune.
But you know what? That guy was some singer. I remember that record.
John Wetton is a brilliant. He was with King
brilliant.
Crimson. Sure.
Was he?
And
I only knew him from that. I didn't know about the other stuff.
Yeah.
Brilliant, yeah.
John Wetton was absolutely brilliant. Brilliant vocal. He's unfortunately passed away around.
I read that.
Yeah. Anyway, Paul, on to number 6.
Number 6. This is a bit of a mad one. Again, going back to a particular time in my life, 1980, that time. Motorhead. I just loved that image. And I don't know the name of the guy. I can't remember the fellow who designed it, but they had a very graphic, simple version of that on their first couple of records. But that became their emblem. And then they would do various versions of it, you know. But there's just something about that. I don't know. It's like, I think they called it, did they call it War Pig or War Dog? I can't remember. But it's an exploding, some kind of a boar or some kind of I don't know what it is.
It's an unusual cover, though, isn't it?
It's
In many
mad,
respects.
yeah. I just think it's brilliant. And it kind of, again, sums up the music inside. But now I'm getting into painted covers. I've kind of showing you a few photograph ones I like.
That's a painter. That's a brilliant cover.
Painted. It's great, isn't it? I mean, you imagine seeing that in the shop for the first time. And the music sounds like it looks.
It does, yeah.
it's nuts.
It's chaotic.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a chaotic cover.
Yeah. So that was my one there.
That's brilliant, Paul.
Yeah.
My number 6, again, Roger Dean.
Yeah.
And it's Yes, Fragile. What a brilliant
Striking,
That's right. And when you open this one out, Paul, because again you have to
yeah.
you have to actually open it out. I know it's kind of not, but you do still have to open because it's the opposite of the back. You see.
Yeah. Oh, so it's not
it's not continued, no, but you still have to open it out though to see the amount of work. And that this was the first album, Paul, where the Yes logo, where he got the Yes. This Yes logo came in because he didn't do the previous album, the Yes album.
So they didn't have a logo worked out back then.
No, this was the one where they, and every album then I think. Yeah. There, and even if it wasn't a Roger Dean cover, had that Yes logo.
But that kind of became a thing, you know. If you look at albums from a certain period, the name, the way they wrote the band's name changed by album.
Yeah.
But it wasn't probably till around 1970 that you started to see bands like branding themselves. Deep Purple had their own logo, Zeppelin had it.
They all had it,
Iron, by the time you get up to the Iron Maidens in the 80s, they definitely, like, you had to have that figured out even before you played a gig because somebody might want it on a T-shirt, you know. So, like Lizzie. They had their thing worked.
They all had it, like you know. It was back there. It's different nowadays, of course, isn't it?
Yeah, there's still a bit of that, but I think back then, rock music, I suppose, in the way we were and rock fans, we kind of like to have something, don't we?
Gravitate. You gravitate something, you know, something.
Bit of a symbol, something that we can hold on to.
Symbol, like you know, you'd have people having badges.
Well, do you remember, like, I used to paint on the back of jackets?
Yeah.
For people.
I know, you painted on my jacket. I had a jacket and he had a thing on the back of it. I think it was Whitesnake, I think.
Was it?
And remember Whitesnake had their...
Yeah, they had their own logo.
Their own logo as well, like, you know.
Well, I used to make money off y'all doing that.
Yeah, I know. I had the sleeveless one with the Whitesnake.
Yeah. And I had...
And he wouldn't do the snake on it. I wanted the snake on
Why
it.
didn't I do it?
I don't know. There wasn't enough room, I don't think.
Oh, was it? I was probably too tired.
Yeah.
No, I was doing it all the time, and I remember doing it in school. Like, I don't know, I was charging a couple of quid for people, but half of our housing estate that were into rock music, I always have to paint on the back of their jacket. Rush, AC/DC, everybody.
You name it, Deep Purple, all that, the whole works.
That was mad.
Brilliant. Yeah. Now, Paul, before we get cracking on to our 5, I just want to say thanks very much to all my returning subscribers, new subscribers, and if you do like this video, give it a like and hit that subscribe button. All right, Paul?
That's it.
And hopefully I'll get the 2,000 subscribers before.
Oh, you're up that much?
I'm 1,700 and odd now.
Brilliant.
But hopefully I get to 2,000 before my anniversary, which will be in July.
That's your first year?
Yeah.
You're at this a year? Wow.
Yeah, 24th of July was the first video.
Oh. So that's good going, isn't it?
Not doing too bad.
Brilliant.
Anyway, Paul.
Next one. So now we're into the paintings that I liked. Although the Motorhead one was that. Now, this is not Roger Dean, it's Rodney Matthews, his name is. And this is one of my favourite covers of all time. I think you had this. Didn't you have this yourself and Kevin as one of the albums there recently?
Kevin had it.
For me, when I saw that cover, this is an original album. I bought this around the same time again as the other ones, about 1980-81. And second hand when I got it. It's not a gatefold, it's just a single sleeve. Now, if you could open it, you'd get the full effect.
It's a pity it's not a gatefold.
Yeah, it might have been. I think it's an original. I don't know. I think it's an original though. So maybe it was at one point. I'd say maybe the Japanese version.
One of our viewers is there now and let us know.
Yeah, I could always
read the comments. Yeah, you can always pull it out like that.
But there's just something about that image. It's just brilliant. I mean, it's a classic hard rock cover, isn't it? It's a big creature with a weapon.
But I like Rodney Matthews.
Yeah, brilliant. He's a kind of a, I wouldn't say punk, but he's an edgier version of the other fellow, Roger Dean.
He's
more gritty.
Gritty, yeah.
Yeah.
Similar in many respects,
yeah. They're very alike, but I think he's more aggressive, and it probably is a reflection again of the music. Like, yes, I wouldn't know too much about them, but they have a tendency to be a bit softer and a bit more poetic.
Yes.
Whereas Nazareth are in your face hard rock.
Hard rock band from Scotland, yeah.
They just don't mess around.
Don't.
And the art doesn't mess around.
No.
So that would be my...
It's a brilliant album anyway.
Yeah, fantastic, yeah.
My number 5 is this brilliant album by Genesis. I know, because it's a Trick of a Tale, released in 76.
Yeah.
It's I'll show you the back of it. See the back of it.
Does that continue around as well?
Well, it does continue around, but you can't. It doesn't really matter if you do, because it's not like. Yeah. But this is the Analog Productions one.
Oh, right.
This is the one Kevin made me pay €100
euros for. Did he?
Yeah, well, he did. Really good. When I heard it, I had to get. Like when I heard this,
like we all make each other buy stuff.
We do, yeah. We're all handcuffed.
There's a lot of headlocks here going. Fellas be catching fellas down. Buy that album.
Yeah, but this was Colin Elgee, I think, designed this. He was actually a member of Hypnosis, I think, as well. Yeah. So it was kind of a spin-off of that.
Right.
But it's a brilliant, and it's just all the characters.
Yeah. And do they reflect the songs inside? Is that the idea, or is it just...
It is, yeah. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's what
you know what I mean?
Thought, yeah.
But brilliant cover. And
it has a kind of a 19th century illustration feel, doesn't it?
It does, actually, yes.
Yeah. Well,
it is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my number 5.
We're on to which one are we on now? 5, is it? Or
number 4 now.
4. Now, this classic.
Oh, Molly Hatchet.
Molly Hatchet. Am I going the right way? Frank Frazetta painting. I found the artist before I found the album. Because being into drawing and painting, I had discovered in a comic shop. Well, it was not really a comic shop.
That's fabulous, isn't it?
It's brilliant, yeah. There was a series of 4 books brought out in the late 70s of Frank Frazetta's art, and I was picking up books of paintings all over the place. And then I saw this cover. It's Southern rock. It's Lynyrd Skynyrd, but it's really heavy. They're not as bluesy as Skynyrd. They're much more gritty. But
they would be, yeah.
Yeah. But it's a brilliant rock album, but just as a cover, isn't that just...
It's like a Viking cover or something.
Yeah,
Viking,
yeah. I can't remember what the original name of the painting is, but it's Frank Frazetta, and he was like the master of fantasy art.
Yeah.
You know, he was like
so good though, isn't it?
Yeah. And loads of his paintings have been used since. They used a few of them, and lots of other bands used. A lot of the really heavy bands would have taken... There's a band called Dust who took one of his paintings of a Viking, or 2 Vikings fighting. Never been able to find it. I think they're like a kind of forgotten band. A heavy rock band from the mid-70s. But you see this kind of stuff on a lot of these albums. But what a great painting.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. There you go.
That's brilliant, Paul. My number 4, and Paul knows this album well, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I think you were going to have it in your list.
Yeah, I dropped it when you said you were going to pick it.
It's Stormbringer by Deep Purple. It's a photograph taken in 1928.
Something like this, a tornado.
Tornado, yeah.
But you know it's been used on about 6 albums.
That's right, yeah.
What's his name? Miles Davis?
Miles Davis, yeah.
There's another one, I think somebody else has it, I can't remember. Then, the story. Do you know the story of how Deep Purple got that?
No, I don't know the story of it.
I don't know if it's true, but it's funny. I think they had budgetary problems. There was money issues.
Always well with Purple.
Yeah, and they couldn't decide on the cover. They didn't know what to do. And I think one of them might have been Coverdale that liked the Miles Davis album. And maybe they went to the agency and somebody said, well, we can get you the Tornado cheap. Grand, that'll do. So they came up with a cover, not knowing or maybe knowing that was used elsewhere, but they bought that Tornado photograph and they got somebody to paint over it, whatever they did, to make it a little bit different than the others, to just get it done because they had no time and no money.
That's still good though, isn't it?
That's brilliant.
Isn't it?
Yeah, great.
Great.
But it goes to show you how one image can be used on, like on a jazz album, maybe it's on a funk album or a classical album. One image can be just reused and reused, but cleverly.
Cleverly, if you do a little bit of,
yep.
You know, bits and pieces to it. Even back then, they wouldn't have had digital, so they would have had to do it
by hand.
By hand, yeah.
Somebody would have. It's airbrushing, literally.
Yeah, and sometimes that's better than digital because it looks. I don't know. It's just different.
It is. Well, it looks handmade.
Yeah,
I think that's the difference.
Basically,
like the last one I had there, you can obviously see somebody painted that. It's not, But then again, digital is getting quite good. I use a lot of digital stuff now, so I can kind of. If you looked at my drawings and I showed you when I did with ink or digital.
I probably couldn't tell the difference.
No, but maybe somebody else who draws could, or does a living.
Well, I probably wouldn't,
So, okay.
Number 3, Paul.
Number 3. I'm missing one here, Pat. I'm going to have to pick one of my...
Okay.
That's supposed to be my number 2. Let's look.
No, but...
This is number 3?
Number 3.
Okay, I'm going to rob one of my... what's the ones? What did we call them?
Your honourable mentions.
That's going to be coming.
Oh,
anyway, see that? That's the pinnacle to me. Maybe it should be number 1. But...
Rainbow Rising.
What a cover.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. 1976, I think, isn't it? Ken Kelly is the artist.
77, Paul, is it?
No, I think it's 76.
76, is it?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not sure now.
77 is a live one.
That's right.
And then 78, Long Live Rock and Roll. But as a cover, this is just phenomenal. I mean,
the best album, really, isn't it?
It's a brilliant musically, but even like artistically, and you can see how they use the idea a little bit in Down to Earth as well later on. When they have the rainbow going around the planet. But look at that. I mean, is that not just striking when you see that? And that's pan painted, like maybe oil paints or something on a canvas.
Yeah, you can actually see it. Actually, if you see it there, and you can feel it there actually as well.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant.
And what was the name of the artist, Paul?
Ken Kelly.
Ken Kelly.
I don't think he was Irish though. I think it's an Irish name, but he's probably American.
Yeah.
He's Irish American.
Brilliant though.
Fantastic.
We always loved that cover though, didn't we?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I got a T-shirt of it a while ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
You should have worn it.
Actually, I didn't even think of it. I just grabbed something. But it's brilliant. And that was one I tried to paint on the back of a jacket and failed miserably because it's really hard to
That'd
paint.
be a tough one.
Yeah, It's tough.
There's a lot of colours in that too, aren't there?
Yeah,
Obviously,
there's
with
a lot
rainbows.
of stuff. That was a bit above my
At that time, yeah.
pay grade.
Yeah,
back
probably
then.
do. Didn't know about it now, would you?
Yeah. We won't say that.
Right, that's great, Paul. My
Cool.
number 3 is Emerson Lake and Palmer's album, Brain Salad Surgery, and this Hans Rudy Geiger. You know that guy?
Geiger, yeah.
Yeah,
Giger.
Giger. Is it Giger? How you
yeah,
pronounce it?
German.
He's Swiss, isn't he?
Was he Swiss? I thought he was
Yeah.
Austrian.
No,
He's
Swiss. And didn't he do Alien?
Alien, yeah.
Yeah. But I believe the story with this is that they were looking for a cover.
Sorry, who was that? What album was that?
Emerson Lake and Palmer,
Oh, yeah,
Brain
'cause
Salad
they
Surgery.
did one for Debbie Harry as well later on. Yeah.
But they went to his house, Keith Emerson,
Mm.
and he had loads of stuff there. And this is one. So we like that for our album cover.
Yeah.
You go, whatever they paid him, picked it, and they just liked it, and they
Yeah.
they had it on stage. Then when they did their tour,
Did
they
they?
had it. Yeah, they had a kind of a big thing. And
So they made a kind of a prop, a stage set out of
kind
it.
of thing.
And how does that work? Does it open out? Or?
Yeah, you see it now. Well, there's an inside sleeve with
Oh,
that,
yeah.
and that's
Oh, and they continue with another pen, yeah.
another paint.
Yeah, his stuff is great.
That's the one they saw first.
Right. I have a couple of books of his stuff.
But I think that's
Amazing.
it's amazing. You can see the alien. You can see it.
You know, again, whether it's true, somebody can say in your comment section, when his wife died, he got permission to get her skull, her head.
Yeah,
He took off all the flesh and everything. She's in the rafters in their house.
imagine that.
He's dead now himself.
Yeah,
But he had her up in the kitchen
unbelievable.
in the rafters. So yeah, he was a bit of a head of all. But stuff is brilliant.
Brilliant. Anyway, Paul, now you're number 2.
My number 2 is an old classic you guys like, and I love it for the art. And I'm not a big prog head like you guys are, but I love this album.
That's not really prog anyway,
No,
Paul.
trad,
No, it's not.
trad rock, I suppose.
Yeah,
It's more like the Horsehips or whatever.
it's a lovely sheen off of that cover.
But that
aren't they?
cover, Led Zeppelin used the old man with the sticks. And that's an old 19th century photograph. I
Yeah.
think that they reconfigured as well. But I just love this. I think everything. That's the character that's there. That could be in a movie. Like that's kind of like the Oliver Twist. You know, the Fagin character.
Exactly. But you know where that cover came out of?
What?
The idea for it was his wife at the time, Ian Anderson, was walking. She saw someone like that in London
Right.
walking through a park, and he
Like a
was
homeless
all,
kind of fella.
yeah, and he was all hunched up, and
Right.
she suggested that, and
But he kind of inhabited that character.
He
he
did.
became him a little bit for the gigs and that.
he did, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Even
But
look-
even like if you look at the back, they have that cool kind of poem about religion and all that, which is great.
Yeah.
But that painting, it's not really a wraparound, but it's like the other one you showed us earlier. But the character,
yeah, it's not a wraparound, but still you need to see it, like,
yeah, yeah. But like the way it's painted, it's like it's kind of. I wonder what they did it in.
it's brilliant anyway.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's like watercolor, but I love it. It's like it's painted on a kind of a plaster or something. But
Yeah.
the way you can kind of, you can kind of see through, and then it gets real solid. And,
Yeah,
but it's like like he's skulking in the dark.
yeah, and it looks scruffy.
Ah,
but
yes,
it's just
brilliant.
brilliant.
But even the painting's scruffy.
Yeah, it's
That's what I
scruffy
like
painting.
about it.
Yeah,
no, it's
brilliant
great.
though.
So that would be that one. Yeah.
So
I'm
number
not
2.
mad on the graphics. I'll be honest with you. I think that's a bit of a letdown one. But
Maybe so, yeah.
the image is just amazing. Anyway, there you go.
Number 2. My number 2, Paul, is Frank Zappa's Overnight Sensation. Look at that for a cover.
Oh, yeah.
There's everything going on.
Yeah.
Everything going on. Dave McCacken, I think, was there.
What year is that?
That's 74, I think. It's just Zappa had brilliant covers,
Yeah.
and that was just whatever's going on on the cover is related to what the tracks on. the
Yeah,
album.
yeah.
They're all related.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I think the Beatles must have
so
started.
the
that.
artist would have heard the album.
Yeah, and he's coming up with images to hit it.
And Frank, obviously, being Frank, would have given him ideas. So
But I think the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, when they did that cover, the way they came up with a story and created characters, I think that influenced a lot of sleeves later on.
oh, it did, yeah.
The idea of connecting your images to your music.
That album art was as important sometimes as what's on the music, and sometimes if they go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's absolutely
Does that open
brilliant.
it as well, or is it
It does, yeah.
is it wraparound?
Yep,
Or-
it is wraparound.
Oh, yeah, brilliant. Oh, yeah,
Look at
that's
it.
cool. Yeah,
Look at
that's
it.
great. That's deadly. Yeah.
It's just absolutely off the wall. Right?
Yeah.
It really tells
It
you
sums up the music.
sums up the music basically, and I think it's one of his best covers.
Right. Deadly.
Yeah, but all his covers, he put a lot of thought into the
Yeah,
covers.
yeah. Some bands like we were saying about that Deep Purple one there. There's a story I heard about. The Rainbow album, Difficult to Cure.
Yeah.
The Doctors on the front. That was meant for a prog album by some other band who didn't want it. maybe Yes or something like
Yeah.
that, and they just turned it down. And Richie Blackmore, I think, bought it. I got it.
They would get it
Yes,
cheap
they
enough
got it
then,
cheap,
wouldn't they,
and
if
then
someone
just
turns it
used
down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they probably came up with a name to match the photograph. And sometimes I think bands don't really give a crap about the cover. Sometimes they just don't care and they'll go with whatever. They're just happy to get the thing done and out.
Yeah.
And I think that's a shame
It is whereas just Frank Zappa, he would have had input.
in everything.
Everything.
Yeah. And that's what I like about with Metallica, for example, in the last few albums they've done. They're across everything. You know, when you look at even the way they design their albums, they're involved in everything. So you with and Iron Maiden, I'll show you my number one in a minute. But it's a thing of, I think if you're going to make the music, you should be involved in how it's
Exactly. I
presented.
agree with you 100% there.
You know?
Yeah, it is. What is your number one?
Speaking of Iron Maiden.
What album is that?
First album.
Is that the first album?
It's
Yeah.
the first album, Paul Diano singing, yeah. And sound-wise, it's very punky and not really like how they became later on. First two albums are brilliant. I kind of lost interest. Number of the Beast is alright, but it's
What's
just
the second album? Killers?
Killers, yeah, it's brilliant. Bit more polished. Martin Birch did the second one.
Yeah.
I think the guy who produced this, I think he barely showed up, and the lads just did what they could. And I know that Steve Harris wasn't happy with the sound, but everybody who likes this album sees it as like Motorhead in some places, a bridge between rock and metal, or punk and metal, or punk and hard rock. So I think it's absolutely brilliant album. But the artwork, I saw a video of your man out of Metallica holding it up, going, "How could you not?" He said, "I bought that bass," and I remember I laughed too because he's about my age, and he bought that wherever he lived in America. I'm in Waterford, going downtown, and I saw this. I didn't know who they were, and I grabbed it based on that.
And did it wrap? It doesn't wrap around. No,
it's just a photograph in the back of it.
Back, yeah.
Plane. But as a cover, he's called Ed the Head, right? And the story is that they made up some kind of a figure, and Ed is just the way the Cockneys don't say H. Ed, not mine.
Yeah.
And it became a character that they developed, and then he changed. So with every album, they put him in a different situation. But that's the very first one they did, and I think that I read it's based on some other famous. Oh, it's based on somebody in a war. Is it Vietnam? It's either an American person's head was shrunk by the Vietnamese and they had it on a tank, or the Americans did it to a Vietnamese guy.
Okay.
He had a photograph.
That
Yeah, he had a photograph of a dead man's head on a tank on a spike that had been shrunken, and that's what he got.
That's what it is.
Well, I mean, as a rock album, when that came out, like rock was kind of in trouble there for a while till that whole British thing came back in the late 70s, and that revitalized.
Oh, it did indeed. Yeah.
You know, but that's
There's no two ways about that.
I think that's my favorite cover. It wouldn't be my favorite album, but as a cover,
That cover, you love it, yeah.
Yeah, it's just
At this moment in time, Paul. Things
no.
will change.
Listen, that has been my favorite cover since I saw it.
Is it?
It's above
Still
them all. Yeah, I don't know why. I just think as a character, it's just it's insane. Like it's
just
brilliant.
mad, yeah.
It's like a perfect fantasy for some kid who wants to be into rock music, but it's held up. It's the one. Like the next one's a bit too polished. That's something about that.
Yeah,
that's a bit edgy. And
rough at the edges.
Rough at the edges. I love that.
Yeah, that is a great cover though.
Cool.
My number one, and this has been number one for a long time. I bought the LP when it came out, Paul, because I liked the cover.
Yeah, well,
I didn't know who they were.
Same as that, and Van Halen.
In 1984.
But that goes to show
But I don't
you.
have it on LP anymore. I'm going mad I got rid of it.
Yeah, right.
Because I didn't like the album, you see, at the time.
At the time, yeah. You see, that's the thing when you grow into music later.
Yeah. And it's, I hope you can see it. It's Metromania by Eli, released in 84. Rodney Matthews. Now, I know it's hard to see.
He's your favourite, is he? Favourite artist when it comes to album covers?
Him and Roger Dean.
Right.
They're the two. But I think this fella's... I love him on Magnum's albums.
Yeah, they're brilliant. And Diamond Head. He did
Diamond Head as well.
Yeah.
He's probably is my favourite, actually,
Yeah.
when you boil it down to.
Yeah.
But I'm on the lookout for this on LP for...
It's hard to get.
Oh, very hard to get. But I want to get it on LP. I will get it on LP because it's very hard. You can't really appreciate it on CD.
Right.
You can't. Look at it.
Yeah, yeah. You need the albums, don't you?
You know,
when
and
it
if you
comes to
open
this
it out...
yeah, that's the thing. I think this kind of music, you see, it goes hand in hand with the covers, because if you're listening to pop music, or even, like, there's a label called Blue Note, which make jazz albums, and the branding and the design across all their albums, they're fantastic covers. They just wouldn't work with this. And you look at it and you kind of go, as a listener, you're probably thinking, yeah, whatever. But when you pick it up, you know what you got. It fits that kind of music. But what I like about rock music is, for each one of us and the gang that we are, all the mates, we all hang around, listen to sounds, and we still do it. Half of it is sharing a sleeve. Did you see this? I mean, we're at the age we're at, and we're still doing it. We're still doing it. Did you see?
But LP, like it's very hard doing it with this.
Yeah, it is.
It just is.
It's too small. Yeah.
It's too small.
Yeah.
And then of course I have cassettes, Paul. You have cassettes.
I have cassettes. Yeah.
And it's smaller.
I know.
And we're there. You know.
I know. I did a thing recently. You know, I played with the music as well, and the lads were laughing at me at a gig in the venue that we know out the road, and I had a bit of merchandise, a bit of vinyl stuff we've done, and I had I made an EP in 1998 that I never released. Right? I forgot about it. And I was in a record shop in town, and he had a cassette on the counter, Luca Records, and I said, they're hardly back. He said, oh yeah, people are buying them. I said, I have a box of cassettes that I pressed or made in 1998. So I went off and made a new cover.
Yeah.
And he's selling them in town, right? But what's funny is the lads out in the venue were going on the microphone, and there's cassettes for sale. Can you believe it? There's cassettes for sale.
Imagine that.
It's mad to think that cassettes are back.
They are back.
Yeah.
No,
I've hundreds of them.
Yeah, so have I. And they won't be back as big as the vinyls come back.
No.
Of course, none of the...
They're kind of trendy, are they? There's just people like buying the
trendy,
thing.
but none of the physical media is going to be back the way it was when we were in the 70s or 80s.
It's just the streaming is just
it's
makes
just
it too convenient.
Over 80%.
It's too convenient for people.
But when you see the album covers...
Yeah. But I think that's part of the crack. My son now lives in Germany. He's into rock music and he plays music himself. And I remember when I bought Black Rose, I think, recently, a couple of years ago. And I had, I said I have the download card. I don't really need it. Do you want me to send you the code and you could have it on your... I'm not really listening to it on Spotify. I don't need...
Download
He doesn't need to own plastic. We like owning the thing.
We like owning physical media.
I think a lot of people are happy just to stream it.
Exactly. Oh yeah, Paul, do you have 4 or 5 honourable mentions?
4, I think. I brought one lesson. I thought I kind of messed up. Look, they're pretty classic.
Sure, you can show the 4 in one go, sure, yeah.
I will, yeah. So and they really are classics. Like, immediately amazing. As a design, does the job.
Oh, brilliant.
Led Zeppelin, says it all. And so simple.
Yeah.
Graphic, bang. This one, bought in Dublin in 1980. It's the original WWA. And that's painted by the guy that, what's his name?
You don't need to get away with that cover nowadays, though, would they?
No, they wouldn't. But on the back, he's the devil guy, and then he's the nice guy on the back, right? Drew Struzan is the artist, right? And he is very famous for painting cinema posters, Raiders of the Lost Ark and all those things. That's what he went on to, from 73. But when I saw that in the shop, again, being into drawing and comics and all that.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic cover. This, you talked about this, I think Kevin talked about Blackout, he loves it.
Yeah.
One of my favourite rock albums, but one of my favourite covers is Gottfried Helmwein.
It's a brilliant cover, isn't it?
It's him, self-portrait. He added the forks for the album. It was done for something else 10 years before. He lives out the road in Kilsheelan.
That's
in
right,
Castle, yeah. And he's done exhibitions in town. He does these really realistic paintings. But what a cover,
That's
and then this one is, I just love the way this is thought out. This goes back to your Frank Zappa and a bit of the Beatles, where they're using extra design very cleverly.
Yeah, that's it.
I stood outside that building. There's a photograph of me. I was in New York a couple of years ago, and they did some messing around because it's not as straight on as that. They definitely did something with the photograph.
Oh, obviously they did.
But what's great about it is, like, when you look into it, everybody's in the window,
Yeah.
and it fits. And no matter what way you turn it around,
it always
in. Works.
It's one of the most ingenious covers when you think about it.
Great album too, but fantastic design.
Oh, fantastic.
So they're my honourable mentions.
Wait, I'll get to mine now. I have 5 of them. I'll just show them quickly.
You know what? I am really bad at maths. I knew I was in school.
Yeah,
I'm
Kevin can't count either.
Nah.
Ricochet
That's cool.
by Tangerine Dream. It's a photograph by his wife, Monique Frost.
Okay. Oh, what? Trees.
Just
the sun behind it. Yeah, very
it's
good.
just a brilliant.
Yeah, it's cool
she was a professional photographer, so as you can see by it's just brilliant. I'll just throw it there.
Nice and simple, yeah.
This is a CD box set now, but it's
fantastic cover.
It's a HMV. Who's next?
Yeah.
They were on their way off to a gig and they stopped at Sheffield
To have a wee.
for a piss. Yeah, and we'll say a piss.
Yeah.
And they pissed up against this kind of monolith thing. It's in a coal mine in Sheffield.
Right.
And it reminded them of something like Alien.
2001 Space Odyssey. Yeah.
And but one of them only pissed actually, and they just put water there, took the photograph and whatever.
Now I get it. I never knew why it was called Who's Next.
That's it.
Duh.
Who's next?
But that's great. It's a brilliant album too.
Brilliant.
I'm not a massive fan of The Who, but that one stands out to me.
That's the best album.
It's superb.
This one is a compilation by Gentle
Yeah,
Giant. It's the first 5.
This is cool.
But this is This is
It was
mad.
brilliant, yeah.
And
It
if you
reminds me of
if you open it out though, it's again on the back.
it got
It's
look same again. Very good. It reminds me of kind of 60s trippy kind of
yeah. It's an
psychedelic
unusual
drawings. Good, yeah.
cover, like you know, very unusual. But I like it.
What's the name of the album?
Giant Steps. If you're trying to get into Gentle Giant, that'd be the one to get into. This is English band from '86. This It Bites. It's an actual painting
Yeah, that's a good cover. Yeah.
of a fella painting a windmill.
Yeah.
The big lad in the windmills. There.
Yeah.
It's a lovely painting actually.
Yeah,
You know, brilliant cover, absolutely brilliant. And
Steady.
finally another Roger Dean cover. This is Demons and Wizards by Uriah Heep, and of course I have to open this one out because look at that.
Oh yeah, that's another example of what we're saying.
Look how fantastic that cover is. Roger Dean is brilliant.
But the year, what year is that? Early 70s?
Early 70s, 72 I think it is.
There was something going on, wasn't there? I mean, they had moved on from the 60s, and the Lord of the Rings kind of were in fashion, and they're kind of monsters and demons and all that.
Yeah.
But they did it so well, you know.
You know, but it's just a fantastic. I'll show you the cover again. It's just a fantastic, brilliant cover by Roger Dean. He's one of the best, though, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I have a friend that has a sculpture by him. Telling you earlier.
Yeah.
And when you're on a Zoom call like this, you see this object in the back, and I asked him, "What is that?" And he goes, "Oh, Roger Dean gave me that." You know Roger Dean?
Long story.
Long story, but it was it's amazing.
But it's brilliant. But it goes to show you, though, you do need the LP. I know I had one CD.
Yeah.
And if someone can let me know where I can get that one on LP, Eli, Metromania. It's a good album. It's actually a better album than it was when I heard it first.
Yeah. Actually, we all grow into stuff.
You know, you must remember in 1984, 1920.
But I remember when you were talking about when you did the Rory Gallagher one,
Yeah.
how we all kind of went away from it because it wasn't heavy enough or it wasn't intricate enough or whatever. And then we came back to it and we got a bit
I
older.
was mad into Gallagher in the early 80s.
I loved Stage Struck.
And then I got it.
Yeah, it was. See, I got
I
into
got away
it.
from a long time.
Yeah, I got back into it when in the mid '80s, but I also like a bit of. Everybody's a bit down on the word country, and I don't like the tacky side of country, but I like rootsy music or I like bluesy stuff, and I can stray. You know, we all have our own little weird diseases, but I could have picked covers from 100 albums here today.
Oh, sure, we could have picked
So
some
that's why I
of them.
limited it to the ones that affected me.
But anyway, I hope the viewers enjoyed that now. It's just something different. I wanted to do something different.
Thanks for asking.
No, we were talking about this before Christmas, really, weren't we?
We did, yeah.
And we didn't want to get into detail and
No.
into depth on the
And we didn't want to
album
make it a design class. And
Exa-
start analysing why
covers.
choices are made.
Yeah, exactly, all that kind of stuff.
But this is just because I like the way you do with Kevin. That sort of you're just your favourites.
favourites.
So turning this into that was like I'm
That's
sure
all it
people
is.
online will have their own favourites. Everybody's
Oh,
got
and we'll certainly get a good few comments on this anyway.
Okay, hopefully.
And
Don't forget your sticker rock.
oh no, I have it. There's my sticker rock.
That'll be waved.
And a sticker rock. That was a surprise now. Wasn't expecting
I
that
didn't say
now.
anything, yeah.
Anyway, Paul, great to have you.
Thanks, Pat.
And until the next time here on Close to the Edge, my name is Pat. And tune in for the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now. Bye-bye.